Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Firstarters TV. I'm your host Ryan D. We're here in Tulsa at Magoo's Billards. Just sit down with Consumed by Fire, talk about their new album. So here we go, check it out. Alright guys, so the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is you guys got a new record coming out.
Yeah.
Fight, right?
Yeah, that's the name. Yeah.
Alright, and where did you guys come up with The Fight for a follow-up of Something Real?
Well, we always knew we wanted to make a record called The Fight. Well, after we released Something Real, we just kind of knew we wanted to. We had a song written for it. We wrote 2 songs called The Fight, and then we just kind of picked one. And it was after a long wait that we were deciding on this worship album that we were going to make. And we were just in prayer one night, and I was like, man, I don't know what to do. It seems like we're just in this long wait. And I text Caleb. He's upstairs, and I'm downstairs in our house. And I'm like, Caleb, wouldn't it make more sense to make a record called The Fight while you're in the middle of a fight, rather than after you've got the victory over this particular fight? So I text him, and he responds. And what did you say? You're like,
come upstairs.
Yeah.
So he comes upstairs, and we start talking about it. Prior to this, the night before, we were talking about our struggles, talking about, the weight that it's taken, where we're at, and, as a band after 6 years. And I said, I was just telling you last night, let's think outside of the box, but, this is like a box outside of the box. It's like, like the little dolls that you open up and they just keep going.
Dolls.
Yeah, they just keep going smaller. I felt like that's what we were doing there for a second.
Then like Russian dolls.
And then we called Josh, and we're like, well, here's the test. Let's pray about it a couple days, and we'll ask Josh what he thinks about making this record. So it was our heart's desire to focus solely on our worship project, get in the studio with Ed Cash, and work on the worship project. But since we're doing this technically as an independent band, funding for that is really tough to come up with. So we called Josh. We prayed about it a couple days. We're like, all right, we got to present this to Josh, see what he thinks, because we're like, that'll be our test. Josh is known for being devil's advocate about things and being the...
I try to look at the full scope.
He tries to do that, but then he only lets up one side.
And then I just focus on the negative, and we just call the whole thing off.
No. But when we talked to him about it, he was cool with it. We were shocked.
It was music to my ears.
And
it's just a knowing of saying, hey, I know we want to focus on this, but we really need to get this record out because it's fresh, because this is what's been happening in our lives. And it turned out to where it wasn't just the record that was about what we were going through at that particular time, but we brought in all these elements of what was going on in our family, of things that we didn't even realize were going to come into play. And then also experiences from even our childhood and growing up, that it's all culminated into this. And I think that's why that being our sophomore release, if you will, as Something Real was our first full-length record, this will be our second full-length record. So it's technically our sophomore release, and I believe that it really shows, okay, you heard us coming out of the gate, now this kind of solidifies who we are and really tells our story. And this is a storytelling record.
Yeah. And then when we go to Mr. Businessman Irvin here, and he's like, well, I think that this makes more sense for us, and Irvin, of course, is gonna lay it down, look at where we're at, say I think that this is the more practical thing to do, and where we're at in our lives, where we're at in this band, let's go for it. So
the name of The Fight it's what it is. Like it was a tough time making a record. It's still a tough time going through the process, just getting everything finished up and perfect, but we won't give up, can't stop, won't stop. It's The Fight.
So you guys mentioned Ed Cash.
Yeah.
Working with Chris Tomlin, Carrie Joe, all the big name artists that you hear in Christian music. What is that like?
wow,
Hilarious.
he's hilarious. But we've worked with a few pretty cool, great guys. But going to Ed was different because whenever we've worked with more prestigious people, that clock is definitely a factor. That time is definitely a factor. But then working with Ed, it's not that it's not a factor. We still have a schedule, but he knows how to. He's just
he brings the best out of you in the least amount of time that I have seen any producer be able to work.
But it's so easy too.
And it's so natural. It's not contrived. And we said whenever we first got in contact with him and we went in there, the whole reason we wanted him to be a part of the worship record is because worship is special to us. It supersedes the entertainment industry, even the Christian entertainment industry, and it goes to a whole new level. And Ed, to me and to all of us, I think I can say that we felt like he actually was able to catch the anointing and the spirit in a room, or the spirit of a song, and really convey that, through the recording process more so than any other artist and producer combo I've ever heard.
In that process, it was as simple as lifting our hands with each other. It was as simple as...
Yeah, there's a picture of Caleb singing vocals on All I'm Living For It. And then in front of him you see Ed, and his hands are just lifted out. He pressed the button, and then he's just worshiping from there on out. It's incredible.
Once the tape's rolling,
yeah, we're really
it's just a worship
to
session.
get
It's
back
not
in there.
a recording session.
Yeah.
It's just guys in a room,
So the worship album, not done yet, right?
No, actually, if you buy this record, our plan, like what we felt God was speaking to our hearts, was David had rocks to sling at Goliath, and he said, and we felt so strongly in our spirit, he was telling us, make this record, and this record will be your rocks that you're going to sling at this giant. So what we're going to do is every bit of the sales that come in for this record are going straight towards our worship project. So that's why we need all of our friends just to go out there and buy this record, because everybody says we want this worship album, but it's like there's a lot of songs that came out in the process.
That's it.
Of the struggle to get to that point, and those songs were straight from our hearts, and we had to put those on a record. There's so many songs you write as songwriters that nobody will ever hear, and you say, well, I'm going to wait for this prime time to release it, and then you wait and you wait and you wait, and then we've got probably 100 songs people will never hear, you know what I mean? Like, and then maybe there's another 100, and then in the future, over the course of how many records we'll put them on, For this album, it was strange. We didn't have any songs that were in our back catalog that we put on this record.
Yeah.
It was all fresh.
Yeah.
Which is why the sound's different, right?
Yeah, we had an old album that we toured.
This is a storyteller record.
For
I
forever.
keep coming back to that. This is
Conceptual.
This is a lot more from our roots. Johnny Cash, Bob Seger, Skinner.
Yeah.
But a lot of
Eagles.
storyteller songwriters, Eagles, stuff like that. Not that we tried to emulate their sounds as much as back in the day, the big hits told a really cool story in a really cool way, and people could relate to it, and people really loved it, and it showed who the artist was and where they came from. Even if it was just a fictional story about something, you could still tell where their roots were.
And
Just
that's
like
what was
Folsom
different,
Prison Blues.
because what we were talking about, like you were saying, is this wasn't, we wrote all this fresh.
Yeah.
We even came down to the point where we were like, you know what, I want 14 songs on this album. And we were like, goodness gracious, we already had 13 on our last.
Scott Cash asked, he's like, so how many songs are you recording for this record? Because they're involved. They're just involved with our career, period. From here on out, like they're our mentors. We love those guys. And so Scott's like, how many songs are you putting on this record? Like 14. He's like, that's not a record. That's 2 records. he's like, what are you guys doing?
So even for the deadline, we ended up like going into the studio and still finishing up bridges. Still finishing up little tweaks to the songs. Lyrically, how we wanted to phrase it and stuff. And then about, I want to say 4 days before, we finished up on a whole song. Finished up, like a complete song, like verses. We had our chorus. That's usually how it works for us. So, I mean, in our previous years, we toured a whole album that never got recorded. So for us, going out and just completely writing something, it was because it was our fight. It was what's happening now, and we just couldn't hold it back.
Yeah.
When is this fight? When is it going to release?
It's probably going to be third week of October.
Tentatively the third Tuesday, I believe, in October, whatever date that
I think
is.
the funniest thing about this record is how we're raising the awareness of our fight and what it takes, doing everything on your own. I like to think, though, we always say in our hearts is we're not an independent band, because our faith is we're signed up and we're hooked up with God, and that's where our faith is in. So I don't really like to say we're an independent band because I don't want to slap God in the face.
Saying we want to do this by ourselves.
Because
we
I'm not that
it's not
guy
by human might,
trying to go out against the currents and the waves and fight and go out and do it on my own. But it is still a fight and it's still a struggle. And I will say that
I'll call it a good fight of faith.
Exactly.
We're very dependent.
So for the release, we're still having to go up against the fight to even release this album. It's hysterical. We're gonna do this album because we're in a fight. We're gonna write some songs about the fight. We're gonna record the record. It's gonna be a fight. And usually the biggest fight about it all isn't within us. It's financially. It's getting that budget to push forward.
It's having vision and feeling like you're always stifled by not having the resources to see it into fruition.
Yeah.
But and the lesson that we've learned our whole lives, not just trust me, the struggle with our music and our professional career lives or whatever is the least of our struggles in life when in terms of lessons in faith. And even though it looks impossible, and even though it always seems like you never have enough, it will come through. And it always has. It's a lot of times come down to the very last second.
Yeah.
But it's always been there. It's always been able to happen. There has always been a way made that there's no way we could have done that on.
Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about the fight. Is that title track? Is that going to be the first single off of
That's correct.
Fight?
Yeah.
It'll be the first video release.
Yeah, the title track.
The first song available for download on iTunes. All that good stuff.
Yeah, let's bring a little fun to this. What do you guys like to do in your free time? We'll start with Josh. I know you got a lot of free time. Huh?
I like to do. I don't have any free time. I'm working on music projects, on songs and editing and
Josh is a big fan of mixing. I like to think
mixing. Just whatever.
Yeah,
Send me your tracks.
enjoy
I'll mix
the
your
video
stuff and send it
games.
to you.
I like
You
doing
can tell me
stuff
how
like
horrible
that.
it is.
This guy likes to. It's hard though. I think the hardest thing about working with Josh is because his entertainment and his fun is plugins and getting as many plugins as possible. So it would be like me going into a studio trying to record and thinking about Madden and trying to play a video game while I'm singing. That is the same exact scenario of when Josh is in a studio with a MacBook.
It's an expensive hobby.
It's so expensive.
We've got video footage of
Oh,
him
let me toy with this. So let me try this. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this on. Okay, I gotta take them all off now. I gotta take all the plugins off.
That is Josh's free time.
And so he brings it into the studio. Whenever you get in there, it's just like if I was to have a whole wall of PlayStation 3.
The best thing
it's
about it
ridiculous.
is that
So Irvin, you kind of went to the quiet here over here. What is your favorite song off the Fight?
Oh man, let me think. My favorite song off the Fight would have to be Good Old Blue Skies. It's just something about the whole feel of the song that fills me up inside. I don't know, somehow it just gives me hope.
When the lights go down, we'll sing blue skies were raining on us. I was told it makes us stronger than before.
It reminds me of the Fight, and you might be in the drought. You don't get that rain.
yeah.
It's not much more I can say about it. I just love the feel and sound and the different instrumentation we had on the record.
Makes you want to look on the bright side.
Yeah.
Yeah, Caleb and I, when we were writing that song, we were thinking there is a picking up of yourself by the bootstraps and saying, snap out of your melancholy stuff, you know what I mean? Melancholy stuff, and get out of it. Pick yourself up by the bootstraps, slap yourself around with it, look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? There's reason to be happy. There's so many people in the world that would die for this. So are you really ready for what's about to happen?
That's a lyric, right?
Yeah.
And that's so real. That hit home with me. Like those lyrics that you just said. What we do as a ministry really affects the lives of thousands, possibly potential millions of people, and we take that very seriously. And our supporters and our friends and our family. They take it seriously and they're behind us. And without that support, it'd be tough for a fight.
Yeah.
So true. And I like what you said, potentially millions. Just, the thousands are already there for, our audience. And I mean, I know you can grow in thousands, but that's always been a big vision of this band, is saying that, God, we're open to this is embarrassing, especially the song that's playing.
Gotta love Allison.
It was my phone. What song was that? I'm not going to tell you what song that was because I didn't even know it was.
Owl City, Firefly.
Okay, you would go ahead and throw me under the bus.
But
I
no,
like Al
big vision for the band.
Big vision for the band.
Yeah.
That's good. I was in the studio with you guys when you guys were recording, and I heard a song off of the fight is "If It Ain't Oklahoma."
Ah, yes.
When you hear the words "If it ain't Oklahoma, it ain't home to me," Caleb, what is that? Make you feel?
And of course, it talks about, you travel across the whole world, but it wouldn't mean anything if it's not Oklahoma. It ain't home to me.
Yeah.
And that to me hits home right there. Because whenever we're gone, I can be sometimes in Oklahoma and I'm just nervous, dirty. I'm like, man, I'm so ready to get out of here. I miss the road. I don't even know what to do with myself sometimes. It's like, I posted something on my Facebook the other day for the first time, and I don't know how long I finally did a post.
Saw that.
And I said Franklin,
I was
Tennessee.
impressed.
I even miss Florida. It's like I-40. I gotta go on I-40. I gotta get out of here. But as soon as I leave, it might take me a little minute, but because I was only here for an extended time. But as soon as I'm gone, a few nights away, I start missing looking up at those stars. Going outside, just looking at the stars, late hours in the morning. Me and Jordan, not too long ago, went in our front yard. It's like 4 in the morning, and I brought my acoustic out there and didn't have no strap on it, just held it. Looked up at the moon. That sucker was just shining. It was the brightest I've seen the moon in years. And we just went out there, and I was like almost just walking around in circles, playing my acoustic. And that to me is just a direct representation of what I feel about Oklahoma. It's that night sky. It's that beauty.
So you guys just finished up a photo shoot, I hear, right?
Yeah.
And little kids, and younger yourselves, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
What's involved? How was that?
It was like casting for a movie. It was so much fun, but we couldn't look any further than our family. Pretty much, it's crazy because the guy playing Caleb, the little kid playing Caleb, looks almost identical to Caleb when he was a baby. So it worked out perfect.
Beautiful kid.
And then our cousin Isaiah played me. Really cool kid. Just honored as all get out. He's great. And then our Noah's brother, which is also our cousin, played Josh. Jacob is his name. Played Josh. And then we had a kid that we met at a friend's house. First time we saw him, we said, "Oh my gosh, he looks like a little Michael Tate." Like it's like, oh my word. He looks like Michael Tate. But we always said Irvin kind of resembled Michael Tate every now and then. It's like,
There were phases.
yeah,
There were phases.
and we're like,
Especially in the DC Talk flat top era.
with the Gumby.
Yeah, right.
But we're like, well, we know he's gonna play Irvin, and so we just called around. And we're like, yeah, we can do it. And so it was really cool, man. It was a lot of fun because you always think, how are you gonna make an original album cover? It's like everything's been done, you know what I mean? And so we're just like, what can we do? And it's not that this is the most completely original idea, but it works.
It was funny.
It was
So
fun.
touching on the album cover, what's it gonna be like? The album cover?
Younger versions of ourselves. It's the fight, so there's going to be probably some weaponry involved. It's kind of controversial to say kids and guns or kids and weapons, but we've been in the fight for our lives, our whole lives.
Yeah.
Our parents are in the ministry, and that is a struggle. Like there's just no way around it. In every way. So we've been in a fight since we were children, and we kind of drew inspiration when Jordan and I were talking about the concept. We almost drew the inspiration slightly from like the Hunger Games, where these kids are put into a situation that's not really within their power, and it's just, what are the odds? You have to go into this situation where you're forced to battle, and you're young. And our music does appeal to a young audience a lot of the time, and that's something that people need to get that in their minds and realize, hey, just because these kids are 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 16 years old, they are having legitimate struggles within their selves and within their lives. You just wouldn't believe it until you've seen services where children literally sitting next to their parents are young children dealing with all kinds of baggage and self-esteem issues to abandonment issues, the feeling of not being wanted, not being loved. It's devastating, and that's their fight. So in a little bit of a roundabout way, we kind of implement that into the fight also. You know, it's not just about our struggle.
The fight's a full circle.
Exactly.
What do you struggle with? you belong in the fight. It's like our economy. It's in there.
It's in
Trust
there.
me.
It's in there.
Josh did have the whole.
Let's lighten the mood here.
Yeah.
Crushes, you know, we all have one of them. Celebrity crushes, anybody?
Celebrity crush.
I like old Jessica Biel before Justin Timberlake.
Did you just call her old Jessica
Oh,
Biel?
Yeah, I
Jessica
know.
Biel.
I'm gonna go get my old pickup.
It's like good old Betsy. You just can't beat her.
I like old J Lo. Who doesn't like J Lo?
Yeah, I respect that. I don't know. I don't
You're
think
married now.
I don't think I have
You
a
better
celebrity
watch out,
crush,
bro.
like,
I could see some pretty faces, but I'm not like. I know, like back in the day, like before
Okay,
she
let's go back
turned
in the
like
day.
50. No, I'm kidding. That's really mean. Because I think she's only in like her 40s or something. Jennifer Aniston. Like when I was like.
What?
Whenever I was like 12,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
thought she was just the cutest thing.
Absolutely
You know
not.
who I literally used to for real crush on?
What?
And the guy
Sorry.
mixing this record,
She was awesome.
the guy mixing our record, Robert Venable. He made like a cameo
I
appearance or something
have
in
to
the new
agree with you on
Nashville
this.
show.
He was in a
In the
couple.
new Nashville
He played
show.
the engineer in the new Nashville.
And
show.
like I was
Hayden
asking him,
Panettiere.
Hayden Panettiere. I was
Absolutely.
just like, oh my gosh.
Because
I
of
used to
Heroes,
love the
I was
Titans,
such a
right?
fan
Yeah,
of
I thought it was
Heroes.
Spinateri.
I don't know how to say her last name.
Panettiere, I'm
What
pretty
is she,
sure.
German?
That's in French.
French.
She's great. Anyways,
Ministerial.
No, when she was in Remember the Titans, we were like the same age, and I was just like, oh my gosh, crushing for real on this girl. So.
And then Heroes.
Whatever. And before that was what? Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah.
Going way back.
Wait.
What are you talking about, Raven Simone?
Josh, what about you? What do you got going on there?
I don't think I ever had a real celebrity crush.
I don't believe you.
I really don't think I did.
Angelina Jolie. I mean, what do you got?
I've been married to my wife for a
Faith
while,
Who's gonna play the
and we've been together
37
since high
years.
school. So I really didn't have time for celebrity crushes. And I've
So
been in
full
love
of
with the
crap
same
with her.
person
See,
for
everybody has
the
somebody
majority
they
of my
thought-
life.
Yeah, I don't buy into that. I said
That's beautiful, Josh.
Shut
Isn't
up.
it though?
Don't
Isn't that just the best thing you've ever heard?
feed that.
Angelina Jolie, there you go.
Alright.
Why not?
Told you.
You guys all seem pretty funny, pretty, go-lucky kids.
Thank you.
Which one of you is the funniest that
Irvin.
you got?
No, Josh.
Josh.
I'm not.
He's hilarious.
Josh is
Well,
hysterical.
Josh
when he wants
cracks
to be.
me up. He doesn't really crack these two
Be-
guys.
okay,
It's mostly because I'm being mean to them when I'm
I
playing.
hate Irvin's sense of humor because it is so. I'm gonna laugh at the guy that's not funny. I'm gonna like the guy that's an oddball.
No,
And-
you love Irvin's sense of humor. You don't like his appreciation for sense of humor.
Okay, no, I hate his sense of humor. No, I'm kidding. No,
We think he's hilarious.
He's the funniest guy.
We were watching the music video. We just got to watch it
I love you,
last night, and we were like, like a serious part, like this. Like we tried to make the title track music video not seem too serious, but like we're watching Irvin mouth the words. We'll see this, and we just couldn't help but just burst out
Bust
laughing.
it up.
He's just some people love us.
But his eyebrows lift. It's like some people love us. Like they just raise.
It's
and
the
I'm
little
just cracking
things.
up.
It's the little things.
It's hysterical.
So, does anybody play pranks on each other?
Oh, I don't play that prank game.
You've been on the road with us. We
Almost
play
that.
pranks.
I mean,
Eggs and hot
We
sauce.
don't do
all
that because
trying
it
to
would
think.
never end.
Exactly. That's how it is.
It would never end.
We're too competitive. No, we don't do pranks.
Sure.
Somebody has to win, and in
We'll
order for
do-
someone to win, everyone else has
Yeah.
to lose,
As far as
and
it
that
goes
could
with
get
pranks,
way out
We'll
of hand.
fib to each other sometimes just to pull
Way
each other's
back.
leg, but
We might do little stuff to each other.
no, we don't.
But nothing
prank.
big.
Yeah,
We're not prankers.
I like to scare people whenever
We
they come
don't
around
like
the
you.
corner.
prankers.
You've been on the road with us. We don't prank you. What happens when I'm not on the road? You know? Those are anything.
We
you guys
have a
wanna-
better time. No, just kidding.
Good. No. Anything you guys want to
No, we
touch
miss
on,
you when we
know,
cry
before
at night. In the very, very back of the van, we lay down on a pillow and cry. Okay, that's just what I do.
I'm sorry.
You interrupted you twice.
Never going on the road. You guys are good. Anything you guys want to touch on before we?
This is going to be
Close out.
something totally different than something real.
Yeah.
It's a much more cohesive record. It all, has a nice flow to it. Every song, fade in and out of each other. You just feel it's good. It's a
I
good
agree with
feeling
that.
record.
Yeah.
This record really does sum up our past, our present, and shows you where our future is headed. Because, like he said, the next rock record we do is going to be the record on the other side of the fight, where the victory has been won. It's going to be the celebration record. It's going to be the
Let's have a good time.
the homecoming record, the party record. But you got to remember, we're Oklahoma boys, and we're really letting that come through in this record. And I believe that's going to be a continuation. And you just have to experience what our family is like in these Oklahoma
I think that comes
get-togethers.
through on every record though too. Like even on Something Real, came through on Leaving With Me. We said shout out to our boys in Oklahoma
Right.
at the end. The Christmas record, we had a lot of Oklahoma influence on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oklahoma's just a part
I
of
think
it.
our Christmas record shows more of this album than something
True.
real could ever. Because
A lot of that I feel like is because our family Christmas get-togethers have been such a crucial part of our lives every single year since we've been in existence. It's been go to Oklahoma no matter where in the world we lived, get to Oklahoma, 80 to 100 people show up at the grandparents' house.
Small little house.
And in this tiny house and build fires or whatever you got to do, lawn chairs and acoustic jam sessions until Christmas morning, and then get 2 hours of sleep and then wake up and open presents and eat leftovers and turkey all day long Christmas Day.
I like to think with
It's rad.
the Christmas record, we tried less. We didn't do as much. And I think with doing less sometimes, you just find out what you're comfortable in and being comfortable in your own skin. And I think that really showed on that record. And it really helped us because we saw ourselves in the light that we always see ourselves, but don't really let people see that much. And then you start thinking about it, and it's like, why don't I let people see who we really are? Why don't I show that other side? Why do I only show the rock and roll side that, I like to do?
Somebody said when they heard one, I don't remember which song it was, probably I think it was a Winter Wonderland. They said, who's the female you guys have singing the background vocals? And I was like, that'd be me. And I was like, well, Caleb told me to do it, you know what I mean? Like, we're in the studio and I'm just singing in my soft higher register, and Caleb's like, yo, go for it, man. Stop trying to sing like we did on Something Real. Like, that's behind us, a lot of it, and we're not.
So you go touring that stuff, you go touring something, or you go tour something real. You go tour all those songs and kill yourself, and
hurts.
And then you have so much energy in the,
The
moment.
price of rock and roll is high.
Yeah, you're gonna have so much energy in the moment. You're gonna want to be a freaking raging Cajun. You're an idiot. And you're just going for it.
You're an
And then
all-in Tony the Tiger. You're
afterwards, you
great.
need 4 Advil, and then your throat's so tired, and then I just started saying with this album, I want to say my heart, and I want to do it without having to kill myself. And then I said I want to make the most catchiest thing possible. To me,
Most catchiest.
we're such huge football fanatics,
Oh,
and so we go into it, and we look at our life as a scenario of football a lot of times. And I like to think in high school, you're gonna grow up, you need to get just enough to get by in college, get the proper coaching. You're in the NFL, everything's kind of changed, but you start looking at the seasons. As a freshman quarterback, you might have more of a tendency to run, and you're going to scramble a little more. What happens when you scramble more? You're going to fumble the football. So you're going to learn. You're going to go to your sophomore season. You're going to find out how to be more comfortable in the pocket. You're going to get to your junior year, and you're going to put up some pretty good numbers. And this is, technically, this is our third full length, including the Christmas record.
Well, if you include the Christmas
And
record.
we had, a few EPs.
I don't
we've done
count the
on
Christmas
side.
record because I didn't have as much. to
But
do
it
with that
doesn't
record as I
matter
would
because
like to.
whenever you're in the studio, you're learning and you're gaining that knowledge and you're gaining experience. As long as there's Pro Tools or Logic or whatever setup you have going and you're doing something, putting your hands to something.
You're learning.
You're gaining experience, and it definitely shows in the fight.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in with us on Firestarter TV. It's Consumed by Fire. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, bud, appreciate you.
Buddy coming in. Okay. All right. Okay.
One thing I like
Pardon
to
me if I
add
don't shake hands.
is I want to thank everybody, all the supporters, all the listeners, and friends, family, because our online sales actually help us out quite a bit. So getting on iTunes,
Yeah.
buying the songs, all the records are on there. Hop on and get it.
Yeah.
Your support is definitely appreciated. Like you said, all the sales of this record are going to fund the worship record, which is super important. More so, I would say, in the big picture, the worship record will be the most important record we've ever done because it supersedes who we are, what the music and entertainment business is. It's bigger than us. And hit us up on Facebook, email us, whatever you got to do. Help us out with gas money, and we will go to where you're at, and we will love to play some songs for you and just get the record, enjoy it, and help us get this worship record out. I think that's the biggest deal. We even recorded this entire record ourselves between me playing with plugins and gear so that we could save money, so that we could be working on this goal of the worship record. So, thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate you coming, Josh. Thank you.
Hey, be great, Ryan.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
What's going on with my
Starting
hands?
some sleep, man. I'm so
Yeah,
tired.
this is home. It's where I come from. It's where I belong. Where I belong. It occurred to me. It occurred to me that this is home.
That won't work.
So proud of you.
Thank you.